And I am joined with trainer supreme Kevin Barry. Thanks for joining me, Kevin. How are you getting on?
Adam, nice introduction, but a little flattering. Mate, I'm doing well. Hey, I'm doing well, buddy.
Good to hear it. So, first of all, where do we start? I suppose let's start. We've got the Dillian Whyte fight announced with your boy Joseph Parker. Came out of nowhere. I got sent an email from Duco Promotions saying that there was talk of a Bryant Jennings fight, and then out of nowhere, literally, Dillian Whyte's been signed. Tell me how it got made, the fight.
Well, look, I tell you what, mate. For a start, we looked long and hard at Bryant Jennings. We have a loose relationship with Bob Arum over here in America.
Yep.
But the thing about that particular fight is the deal kept changing on a daily basis. And mate, once deals start changing and you lose a little bit of ownership of the fight, and you lose, the opportunity to challenge officials. We were fighting in the guy's backyard. We were originally fighting for a mandatory position that we were told we had, and then all of a sudden, no, it's not for the mandatory. And
right.
mate, it became less and less attractive all the time. And I'll tell you what, this whole 360 we did with Eddie and Dillian was mainly due to the business that we conducted during the Joshua fight. Look, we built a solid relationship with Eddie Hearn. He knows exactly what our team is all about. We built a solid relationship with Adam Smith and the team at Sky, and we have a lot of friends now in the UK media. And this enabled us to make this fight in record time. Mate, this fight was put together in 3 days. The Joshua fight was put together in 3 months.
Well, that's what's interesting about it, because it was so quick. Because there was a little bit of talk in the media and a bit of back and forth and a little bit of jabbing from each teams, and then this one, bang! It was done within 24 hours.
Well, and I'll tell you what actually happened. We were liking the Bryant Jennings fight less and less, as I just mentioned. Dillian and Eddie, I think, were liking the Pulev fight less and less every day. And I think the fact that both guys had generated a bit of banter over the last 12 to 18 months. On paper, it's a very exciting fight. And I tell you what, mate, when this opportunity was presented to us, I liked it straight away. We submitted the idea to Joe. Joe immediately said, "I want this fight." Joe wants fights. He wants to challenge the biggest names out there. And he thought that Dillian Whyte, with his number 1 with the BC, 2 with the BO, 4 with the IBF, was a great opportunity for us to move.
That's a good point.
All the way back, and to pick up some of the momentum and ground that we lost during the Joshua fight.
Okay, interesting. So were there any, other than Jennings, and obviously you made the fight with Whyte, were there any other names sort of in the hat for Parker's comeback?
We were negotiating with Alexander Ustinov, and we had been doing so for the previous 6 weeks.
Well, I reckon from the names you've mentioned, I think Dillian Whyte's the most appealing out of all that, especially here. And I suppose, I say your part of the world, I know you're in Las Vegas, but I mean like the South Pacific, Dillian Whyte's emphatic victory over Lucas Brown, did that make it a little bit more appealing as well?
Look, I tell you what, Dillian has really earned his stripes, and I think in our part of the world, as I believe the same in the UK, his blow-for-blow exciting fight with Chisora, and then, backing it up with that devastating knockout against Lucas Brown, I think that really brought his name to the fore in the UK. Hence, Adam Smith and the guys at Sky were prepared to roll the dice and make this a pay-per-view fight.
Yeah.
As you know, we've got a really exciting undercard.
Yeah, that's all been announced.
And this is going to be one very fan-friendly night of boxing. It's happened really quick for us. And I don't mind telling you, right at the moment, this is our first full week back in camp, and poor old Joe doesn't know where he's at the moment. He flew 34 hours of flying in 3 days. From New Zealand to London, he was there one day and then flew to Vegas. So,
of course,
we're working through. Well, Dillian and his camp will be happy to know that we're working through the jet lag this first week. Obviously the second week will be a much more enjoyable week for Joe.
Yeah.
But so look, the time frame wasn't ideal, but the risk and reward and the chance of redemption was just too good not to take. This is Joe's redemption fight. And the chance of redemption has come quick.
Well, would you call this a 50-50 between Joe and Dillian?
Mate, I think this is. I think a lot of people will have different ideas.
Just one of them, isn't it? Yeah.
They saw Joe fight a very technical, a very patient, probably overly cautious fight against Joshua.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
They look at Dillian. They know that he likes to engage. He has a style. He likes to come forward. He likes to throw a lot of punches. Some people will think, that might be too much for Joe. Other people will think, well, with Dillian's style of throwing a lot of punches might play into Joe's hands. So, it's a very exciting, interesting fight. And one thing I can promise you, the winner of this fight is going to be in a very, very good position. Yeah,
well, you're straight back in it, aren't you? You're straight back looking for, I think, one of the champions. With the positions
that was the attraction to us. Would have we liked a 10-week camp? Yes, we would have. But we were prepared to roll the dice on a 7-week camp. Let me tell you this: when Joe announced the fight against Anthony Joshua in London, when we got back to Vegas, Joe was 120 kilograms.
Ooh.
He fought at 236 pound, which was like 107 kilograms. Okay.
Yeah.
So we spent a bunch of that camp bringing his weight down. When Joseph Parker arrived back into camp after announcing the fight with Dillian Whyte, he was 110 kilograms.
Wow. Okay, that's quite a big difference. Yeah.
It is a huge difference.
Wow.
And one, as a coach, made me very, very happy.
I was interested in talking about the Anthony Joshua fight. It was a bit of a weird one. And a lot of people were very unhappy with the referee. You guys were, cautious to begin with, but I think the thought was, especially from me and a lot of other journalists and writers and stuff, was that the referee wouldn't let the two fighters engage.
Well, mate, I tell you what, it was. We didn't have to make a comment about the referee after the fight.
No, you didn't.
Because the whole world got to see it. Here we had the first unification fight in the heavyweight division in over 8 years, two undefeated young world champions. For God's sake, couldn't have they given us one of the best referees in the world to officiate over a fight of this magnitude?
I agree.
Instead of a muppet who actually destroyed the fight. He ruined it for both fighters, and he ruined it for all the fans. And it was an absolutely appalling performance. And I don't even need to say that because everyone else has said it.
Yeah, of course, mate. And it was a shame as well because we had such a good heavyweight fight before it between Povetkin and David Price, which was a fight of the year in my opinion. And then we went for just completely the opposite. I don't really blame either of the fighters. But yeah, it was a bit of a shame. What is there anything you guys are trying to make? Is there any way you're trying to make sure that doesn't happen this time in the Dillian Whyte fight?
I tell you one thing. I'll be making sure that Eddie and the BBBOC don't appoint him as our referee for this fight.
Of course not. Yeah, yeah, he was terrible. He was terrible. You'd expect like sort of one of the big American referees or something like that to maybe do it, as you said, one of like a world-class referee.
You've got guys like Tony Weeks and Kenny Bayless who are excellent referees, and it should have been a fight of that magnitude, a fight that was sold to 140 countries around the world. That fight should have been officiated by the best, not by some substandard guy.
Yeah, very below average. What was it like? Sort of fighting in front of 80,000 people? Like,
Mate, it was really exciting, and we talked about it beforehand. A lot of people, including Eddie Hearn and Joshua, said, "Oh my God, Parker won't know what struck him. He'll melt when he goes out there. It's all right saying that, the crowd won't have an effect on you, mate." I remember walking through the tunnel and tapping Joe on the shoulder and saying to Joe, "How friggin' good is this?"
Oh, that's cool.
But we decided that we would embrace the whole experience, and we did all the way through it. We embraced every part of it. And look, we never lost the fight because of nerves or anything like that. We were never overawed. We were never out of place. We lost the fight because of poor officiating, and we lost the fight because Joe never threw enough punches, and because Joshua fought a very cautious, a very skillful, a very disciplined fight.
Yeah, it was quite surprising to see Joshua do that.
Mate, hey, look, the thing was, our best chances in that fight were to get Anthony to engage, because we had faith in Joe's chin. We thought if both guys are throwing at the same time, that was our best chances to win.
Yeah.
And that we just never ever got that opportunity because of the referee.
It was what I found interesting about the fight. Obviously, we see Anthony Joshua go in there, and he can sometimes even be erratic. Well, I'd say most of the time be erratic in how he, like even when he beat Klitschko, which was a great fight, but a lot of the knockdowns, sort of Klitschko kind of just fell over from sort of being sort of smothered a little bit. Yeah, as well. We didn't really see Joshua seemed to have no intention to really go at Joe. Were you surprised by that?
No, and I tell you what, for us, we knew that it didn't matter what Anthony Joshua said, that he respected Joe, and I think the ultimate compliment was the fact that when he got on the scales, he was 6 kilograms lighter than the fight before.
Yeah.
Okay, he knew that he had to get himself fitter and faster. Okay, he also did not throw that right hand because the movement of Joseph Parker's actually troubled him, and he sort of thought, and he said afterwards, "Look, I was looking at fighting Deontay Wilder. I thought it was no good for me to get careless and get hit." So he fought a very safe fight, and that was once again giving Joe a lot of compliments.
Yeah, very much so. So what did you...
If he didn't respect Joseph Parker, he would have jumped all over him and tried to get him out of there.
Yeah, true. Yeah, well, it's funny, I was talking to sorts of colleagues and stuff, and we were like, has Anthony Joshua broken his hand or something? Broken his right hand? and he hadn't at all. And it was just, he was being very tactical. And obviously it was the first time Anthony Joshua has gone the distance as well. So what you were telling me before the fight about Joseph Parker having one of the best chins in the world seems to be very true.
Well, we always look, Adam. You heard me say it. I didn't believe that Anthony Joshua is a one-punch knockout artist. He's a guy that has to hit you with 3-4 punches to do real damage.
Yeah.
With the movement, both the head and hand movement and the foot movement of Joseph Parker, it was always going to be very difficult for him to be able to connect with 2, 3, 4 punches at a time against Joe.
Yeah, very interesting. So other than that, like despite the referee problems and things like that, what did you guys, because Joe's in respect, he's a baby in the heavyweight division, really, isn't he? So what did you guys learn from the experience and the fight itself, and how are you looking to improve Joe as a fighter?
Well, obviously we need to get Joe back to the guy that threw a lot of punches.
Yeah.
I expect the style of Dillian Whyte to bring that out of Joe.
I agree.
Dillian's been very vocal in saying, don't bring your running shoes. I want you to engage. Well, mate, Joe's gonna believe me. Joe's gonna be there in the pocket. Joe's not fighting a 6'6" guy with an 84-inch reach. Okay, we're going to be right in the pocket, banging with this guy. So and I think that Joe needs this sort of a fight now. He finished the Joshua fight not even blowing. Whereas we should have finished that fight where I should have had to get into the ring and carry him to the corner. He should have emptied the tank. He simply didn't do that. This fight will be a totally different fight.
Well, it's funny you were saying about Anthony Joshua he's not like as people think he is as a one-punch knockout artist. The one fight he did kind of do that was actually against Dillian Whyte, which is quite interesting. So are there things you look at from the Anthony Joshua Dillian Whyte fight, or do you think it's irrelevant?
Oh, mate, it's too long ago.
Yeah. Okay.
You're talking 2015.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Both, Joshua was still evolving. Dillian Whyte was still learning the game. The reason why they put that fight together, there was a bit of money for both guys, and there was a lot of bad blood.
Yeah.
And it made sense. And when you say about, that Joshua showed one punch power, I think, look, it might have been one punch that got him out at the end. But I mean, it was all the combinations before that.
That's a good
that
point.
Broke him down.
Good point. Yeah.
This is not like Deontay Wilder where he stings you with the right hand, you go to sleep.
Yeah. I got you. So, like you guys, this is your third fight on the bounce in the UK now. I suppose this is where the heavyweight division is now in the UK. Is this where you guys want to keep fighting? You seem to be becoming quite popular in the UK now. Now having, if we look back at the Hughie Fury fight, that was a bit of a, not in terms of your guys' performance in that fight, but the promotion was a bit of a mess. Are you happy? You must be relieved where you're in a position where you're now, that you got the big Joshua fight, and now you've got this big pay-per-view fight with Dillian Whyte.
Look, hey, we love and appreciate the relationship we have with Matchroom and Eddie Hearn and with Adam Smith and the team at Sky. This is where we want it to be. They're doing an amazing job. We think they're the biggest players in world boxing, and we've always said that we thought that the UK was where our future was going to lie, and here we are, 3 fights in a row. And look, mate, we'll be taking care of Dillian Whyte, and then we'll be looking to line up again in the UK. Look, we like it over there. The fans treat us really good. Joe and I feel good when we're there, and mate, this the business at this stage of his career is better than anywhere else.
There have been a lot of other names mentioned, but this Dillian Whyte fight, I think is the best fight you could have taken. In terms of sort of long-term plans, I know you got this fight coming up. But what are the sort of long-term plans for you guys? Do you want to sort of take this buzz back to New Zealand one day and keep bringing big fights there? Because you've said before that, New Zealand isn't a massive boxing country. Is that on your sort of to-do list, or are you more just bothered about, is it more just about getting Joe the big fights, or is there a thought of trying to get the sport big in your home country?
No, listen, obviously Joe's very big in New Zealand, and Joe has a big fan base throughout the South Pacific and Australia. But mate, we can't do the business in New Zealand that we're able to do in the UK. As I mentioned to you before, Joe goes now. He's determined to take the best and biggest fights against the best and biggest names, and to do that, we've got to fight in guys' backyards. And we're happy to do that in the UK. This is a fight that's going to put us back into an immediate line to be on a short list to fight Anthony Joshua again, or the winner of Joshua and Wilder. We know that. And that's why, the stakes are so high in this fight. And Joe is well aware of the uphill battle if he is to lose to Whyte. We have to get the win here.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. Well, I admire you. I admire you guys for coming back in a very credible fight. A lot of people, a lot of teams come back against, quite poor opposition, to be honest, and just to sort of get that win under their belt. That's obviously not in Joe's mindset or yours, so that's good to see. Moving away, I just get your opinion, because we spoke about Joshua and Wilder there. What are your thoughts on the whole, because obviously you guys had a drawn-out negotiation with Anthony Joshua. What's your thoughts on this strange bickering between the Wilder camp and the Joshua camp? What's your thoughts on that, Kevin?
Well, obviously, my first thoughts are, the longer they leave that fight, the bigger it's going to become. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
It's a wee bit like Floyd and Pacquiao, but they left that fight 6 years too long. But of course, when the fight did happen, it broke every record. Look, I see this as being the biggest heavyweight fight ever when it happens, because of the social media, the pay-per-view market, the way it's growing now. I think that Joshua and Eddie Hearn have done the right thing by leaving Deontay on the sideline for a while. He's a guy with the experience. He's a guy with the record behind him. I think Joshua's obviously still developing, improving, and I think the last fight against Joe Parker was the best skilled Anthony Joshua I've seen enter the ring. Well, he's gonna need that skill if he's to get things right against Deontay Wilder, a fighter who has uncanny, real one-punch heavyweight knockout power, and the punches, the angles that he throws those punches from are very, very hard to defend against, which makes him such an awkward, unpredictable opponent, and a very dangerous opponent.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I wanted to talk quickly about the promoter, David Higgins. Came under a lot of stick from people in the UK for the tactics he used in negotiations. It proved to work out for you guys. He did quite a good job in the end. And obviously, you've ended up building a very solid relationship with Matchroom Sport and Eddie Hearn. You guys have always come across as a very tight-knit unit. What do you have to say about David Higgins and the role he's playing for you guys at the moment?
He's playing a pivotal role, and he is, he's done an outstanding job as our promoter. The business that we're able to secure in that Joshua fight was very, very good. David Higgins really earned his stripes during that promotion. Big promotions like that, when you're fighting in front of 80,000 people and being sold to 140 countries around the world, and your company's up there on all the marketing and banners with Matchroom, you get the respect. And it was interesting what you said. A lot of people were very critical of David. During that Joshua fight, I remember being out with him a couple of times, and everyone wanted their photograph taken with him.
Yeah, he became a bit of a cult hero.
So David's become, he's become a bit of an identity there in the UK, and the relationship that he forged with Eddie was the reason that we were able to turn this fight around in 3 days. It was an amazing piece of business. And tell me this, whoever loses in a major global pay-per-view event and then comes back the very next fight after a loss on another pay-per-view card.
Yeah, very good point.
That does not happen very, very often. So, all credit to David Higgins.
If I remember correctly, I may have got this wrong, but I think you were saying that the New Zealand press was saying that David Higgins doesn't know what he's doing, he's out of his depth and things like that. What's the sort of media reception to David Higgins now And you guys as well, like Duco Events as a company, have they sort of changed their mind on the whole thing?
Oh, well, look, obviously results speak for themselves, and when they saw the business that was secured, that David um, helped secure for his fighter Joseph Parker, he was applauded for that, and David did a whole 360 in the public eye,
Yeah.
and then backing that up by putting this fight together against Dillian Whyte. This is it is a great piece of business. There is no doubt about it, and it's very, very hard to criticize a man's work when he's done back-to-back very good performances.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's done a really good job. To be fair, at the time, and I've got proof, I was saying David Higgins has got everyone talking about Joseph Parker, Anthony Joshua.
Yeah.
So, if you Google promote, that's pretty much what it says. But really quickly, because I don't want to take too much more of your time, what else have you got going on in your stable at the moment, Kevin, apart from Joe Parker?
I tell you what, I had two young heavyweights that I was bringing into camp this particular fight. But when we did this piece of business in the UK with Dillian Whyte, and it gave me 7 weeks, which actually meant 5 weeks in Vegas, and then we turn around and go back to the UK for the last 2 weeks of tapering, mate. And a pay-per-view event. I just could not give my time to anyone else. I am 24/7 on Joseph Parker right at the moment. There are two fighters down under, both heavyweights, who I am very, very keen on, and I'll just push it back one more camp, and as soon as we get this fight out of the way, I'll be looking to bring them both over.
Oh, brilliant. Good to hear.
Two guys who I believe will be the future of the heavyweight division in the South Pacific.
Is this an example of the sort of Joseph Parker effect on boxing in that area of the world? Is that kind of what's happened with these two guys coming through?
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh, interesting.
They've seen what we've done with Joe. They've seen how we've taken Joe in 5 years. From an amateur boxer who was having to beg and borrow to get to amateur trips to a multi-millionaire, and who's worshipped down in New Zealand and Australia, who has a huge fan base, and they want to be just like him. We have the blueprint, and they want to be part of it.
Well, the area, this is what I'll end on. The area of sort of Australia and New Zealand, there seems to be quite a bit going on. Obviously, Jeff Horn lost to Terence Crawford, but he is the best fighter in the world. So you had Jeff Horn become world champion, and then is it the Maloney brothers as well? They seem to be creating a bit of noise in Australia as well, and there seems to be some other things. So it seems to be really taking off down there.
Yeah, and I tell you what, you've got a couple of new promoters in Australia, and David Higgins in New Zealand's looking to sign more fighters all the time. So I think that I think the business is really looking good for the future in the South Pacific.
Excellent. Well, it all sounds really positive. I cannot wait for this fight. I think it's going to be brilliant. I don't think either fighter is going to take a step back. And I just wish you all the best with it, mate.
And I'm thanking my friend. It's always great chatting with you, and we'll be preparing well. We have a lot of respect for Dillian. We know he's a powerful, physical guy. He likes to bring it. He's very, very durable. He's got some great wins against some good opponents. He's well ranked around the world. So it's we're coming back with a big task.
Brilliant.
So we're going to have to throw a lot of punches and be at our best to be victorious on the 28th of July.
Well, as always, mate, it's been really nice to talk to you, and I wish you luck in the camp. And hopefully, I don't get a chance to go to many of the press conferences because I do a lot of travelling around Eastern Europe and stuff, doing boxing stuff there. So hopefully, I'll be able to catch up with you then, mate.
All right, mate. Look forward to it.